Okay, let's dive in. What happens when everything, and I mean everything, that used to need people no longer does?
It's a huge question. Really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It does. And we're not just talking simple automation here, like robots on a line.
No, this feels much bigger, like a fundamental shift in how economies might work.
Exactly. Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at these emerging AI-run economies, not as some, sci-fi thing way off in the future.
But it's something people are actively trying to build right now.
Right. And the core idea we're exploring is how AI isn't just taking over jobs. It might be replacing the whole concept of work as we know it.
It's pretty profound when you frame it like that. I mean, for thousands of years, human economies have revolved around one thing, trading our time and effort for something else.
Yeah, you farm, you get grain, you code, you get paid by the hour, you provide a service, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
It's been the basic deal.
But now, that basic deal seems to be ending, or at least changing dramatically. AI is stepping into roles that were always human domains.
Our sources really drive this home. Think about customer support. Increasingly, it's AI agents handling queries, right?
Seamlessly, often. And sales. Automated funnels are taking over huge chunks of that process.
Marketing, too. Machine learning models, figuring out exactly who to target, how, when.
Yeah.
It's incredibly sophisticated.
And it doesn't stop there. Content creation.
Generative algorithms, writing articles, making images.
Software development even. These no-code platforms are lowering the barrier significantly.
Then you've got AI tutors in education, predictive diagnostics in healthcare. The list just keeps growing.
And here's the kicker, the real difference. AI doesn't need breaks. It doesn't unionize.
And you can scale it almost infinitely, instantly, something you could never do with a human workforce.
Exactly. So it's not just about job loss, though that's part of it. It's deeper. The whole foundation of how value is created and exchanged might be shifting under our feet.
Which brings us to the core question. What is an AI-driven economy? What does that actually look like?
If we break it down based on the sources, a few key characteristics jump out. They're aiming for something self-sustaining.
Meaning it can run and grow without constant human intervention.
Pretty much. And autonomous, making its own decisions based on data and its programming.
Yeah.
Scalable, as we said, way beyond human limits.
And this is fascinating. It can supposedly generate new intelligence, not just process what's already there.
Right. And the mechanics of how it might work are interesting, too. Tasks get done by these digital agents, these AI bots.
Okay.
Markets might operate on smart contracts and, self-executing agreements on a blockchain. No need for traditional middlemen.
Makes sense. Automating the transactions themselves.
Yeah, and resources could be managed by DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. Think digital collectives with rules baked into the code.
So like community-governed systems.
Sort of, yeah. And even how we prove our worth could change. Maybe less about resumes, more about the performance of the AI tools you manage or deploy. Your reputation becomes key.
Which leads to how we earn a living in this new world. It shifts, doesn't it? From trading time for money.
To potentially owning a piece of the system itself. Earning because you own part of the productive AI infrastructure.
And that's where tokenization comes in. These digital tokens representing ownership or stake.
That seems to be the idea. Getting in early, participating, holding these tokens could become really important, which naturally leads to X365, mentioned in the materials.
Right, X365. What's their angle here? How do they fit into this picture?
Well, from what we've read, they're positioning themselves as a platform, a kind of gateway for individuals to actually participate in these AI economies.
How so? What do they suggest people do?
Several things, actually. Deploying AI tools is one, using the tech. Earning through referrals, which points to a network effect, growing the user base.
Okay, a network marketing element.
Seems like it. Also, training others through AI academies, so an educational component is needed.
Which makes sense. People need to learn how this all works.
Definitely. And then they mentioned launching AI agents for local businesses, sort of applying this tech in the real world and plugging into bigger global decentralized systems.
So the big shift in thinking they're pushing is, instead of looking for a job, you need to set up a node. Is that the term?
Yeah, a node within this AI economy. And they define it pretty simply, at least to start.
What does that involve?
It seems to start with an affiliate link, like for tracking referrals. Then there's a small activation cost mentioned, like $10. Building a team or network around you is emphasized.
Okay.
And having access to this toolkit of AI resources that evolves over time. The focus really moves away from your personal labor.
And onto your ability to distribute and leverage this AI power.
Exactly. You're essentially getting paid to share and grow the system that potentially makes traditional work less necessary. They even use the phrase founder of post-work commerce.
Founder of post-work commerce. That's quite a statement. Okay, so if this system takes off, how does wealth actually get distributed? Is it just flowing to the AI owners?
Well, the sources describe a kind of transformation, a chain. It starts with human labor being translated into code.
Okay, the instructions for the AI.
Right. That code then fuels the automation, the AI agents doing the tasks,
And that automation creates value.
which is then represented, potentially, by currency, often these digital tokens we mentioned.
So labor.code automation -out tokens, is that the flow?
That's the gist of it, yeah. And the crucial part is seeing these tokens not just as money, but as equity, like owning stock in the AI's productivity.
So if you hold the token, you hold a tiny piece of the value being generated by all these AI systems.
That's the theory. As the AI economy grows and does more valuable work, the tokens representing shares in that work should, theoretically, become more valuable.
They gave a hypothetical, didn't they?
Oh.
Something about millions of users.
Yeah, imagine, say, 100 million people using these AI tools, maybe paying a subscription. If you're a token holder, you might get a cut through referrals or a network structure.
And the token itself gains value because the whole system is being used more.
Yeah.
Demand increases.
Precisely. They're calling this AI capitalism, or machine-backed entrepreneurship. It's a different way of thinking about investment and return.
And X365 is presented as building the infrastructure for this kind of model.
That seems to be their claim, yes. Building the rails for this machine-backed economy.
Okay, but let's address the elephant in the room. What happens to jobs as we know them? People listening are probably wondering, okay, great, but what about my job?
It's the natural question, absolutely. And the sources don't necessarily say jobs vanish completely, but they suggest a reframing of concepts.
Okay, how so?
So maybe jobs become more like missions, shorter term, specific goals you work on, maybe coordinating AI.
Right, not a lifelong career in the same role.
Probably not. And learning isn't something you do once. It becomes constant looping, always updating your skills, adapting to how the AI evolves.
Continuous learning, basically.
Yeah. And work itself shifts more towards supervision. You're not doing the task. You're overseeing the AI that's doing the task, ensuring it works right, guiding it.
And well,
Wealth becomes more network-based. Your value and income are tied to your position and contribution within these interconnected AI systems and communities.
so the big picture is you stop thinking about applying for a position somewhere.
And start thinking about building your own little economic engine within this larger AI ecosystem.
And the tools for that, according to the source, are things like creating content, using these AI agents effectively,
Owning the right tokens, building that global team or network we talked about.
and potentially earning daily from actual transactions happening within the network you've helped build.
Yeah, it flips the model. You're not just working in an economy someone else built, you're actively helping build and evolve it and getting rewarded for that participation.
It's a fundamentally different way to think about economic life.
It really is. So as we wrap up, you kind of see two paths emerging, don't you?
How do you mean?
Well, you'll have people maybe waiting, hoping traditional jobs come back or adapt somehow. And then you have others who are already trying to build this new thing.
Using the tools themselves, the AI agents, the tokens, building these mission-driven networks.
Exactly. They're not waiting. They're constructing.
And X365, based on our reading, is positioning itself not just as a company, but almost as a movement towards this distributed value, autonomous productivity idea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even moving beyond traditional work altogether.
That seems to be the narrative they're putting forward.
So, for everyone listening, the takeaway might be this. You could potentially build this new economy, own a part of it, share it. Maybe, just maybe, never need to apply for a job in the old sense again. This has been The Deep Dive.
And it leaves us with a final thought. In a world where work itself is being redefined, what are you going to build?